they're not clicking. And at the start of the season, you could talk about injuries and say that's why we're not doing well. But now we're seeing a bigger problem, and I think it is that lack of chemistry at the moment. You mentioned Sadio Mane, Vicky, and you know, he was always underrated as a footballer, I think. And perhaps we're now seeing how good he was and how important he was to Liverpool, having been taken out of the team. Because he was, you know, Roberto Firmino did a lot of work for the front three, and I felt Mane was the ingredient that brought it all together, made it work, and in tough moments was probably the one that would carry the fight by himself. What they've now got is, you know, they've got three brilliant footballers, Salah, Diaz and Nunez, but is it a unit yet? And one of the most eye-catching things yesterday was watching Mo Salah standing out near that right touchline, just not getting the ball, not getting anywhere near the play, them not bringing him into play. Now when Mane was on the pitch, everything was geared towards helping Salah, and Mane's runs were very, very selfless. So I think now Klopp's got a lot of thinking to do about the balance of the team, about the ingredients. They looked better when Firmino came on, but you just signed Darwin Nunez at that price.
Fabrizio Romano announces that Melo has already accepted Liverpool's permanent offer. Famous journalist Fabrizio Romano took action this week to inform Liverpool fans about Melo. Melo joined Liverpool on the last day of the transfer, and nobody knew about this transfer until then. Therefore, it was a very big surprise signature. We have already conveyed to you that the transfer is a lease with option to purchase. While confirming this, Romano added to this information: Liverpool will have a €37.5 million put option clause for in June, but it is not mandatory. Liverpool are still negotiating with Juventus to pay the transfer fee for 2 years, said Romano. We know that to be true. Juventus on deadline. He also stated these facts in the announcement of the deal. If Liverpool decides to sign permanently, he can pay the money back in 2 years. What's more interesting is this: has already agreed to the potential contract if Liverpool triggers the clause, he said. If Romano is right, this means that Liverpool sees as a long-term investment. It is likely that Liverpool will try him this year and will decide whether to exercise the buy option based on performance data this season. Initial reports suggested that Liverpool had hired without the option to buy. It turns out that they have now agreed on a contract and they just need to trigger the clause. At first I thought Liverpool saw as a temporary and last resort on the market. However, I was wrong. It's clear that Liverpool cares a lot about him. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bothered to go through these negotiations on the deadline. This is not a loan made on a whim. And certainly has the ability to make a permanent move. He is one of the best setters in Europe in his day, and I hope we see that in the fight against Napoli this week. Do you think Arthur's option to buy should be exercised? Brighton promised to transfer to Liverpool. Brighton will reportedly give Liverpool priority to sign midfielder Moises Caicedo in January. After losing Bissouma, Brighton fans may have worried about their lack of midfield quality as they head into the new season. Billy Gilmour was brought in through the window late, but it was Caicedo's performance that would ease his concerns. The Ecuadorian midfielder has performed exceptionally well so far this season despite being just 20 years old. Caicedo is attracting the attention of many clubs in Europe, and as we mentioned in our previous videos, Liverpool were interested in signing Caicedo this summer. Liverpool were one of several clubs willing to sign Caicedo, which Brighton bought for just £4.5 million last summer. The 20-year-old has performed very well since returning from his loan at Beerschot in January. Caicedo has only played in 15 Premier League games, but is already attracting attention from all over Europe. Desperate to sign a midfielder before Thursday's deadline, Liverpool apparently made a second offer to Brighton in the last hours of the window. Brighton has told all interested clubs to wait until after the World Cup to try to sign Caicedo. After signing just £4.5 million, they could already make a substantial profit. However, boss Graham Potter wanted Caicedo to stay with the team as key players Marc Cucurella and Neal Maupay left before the start of the 2022-2023 season. Caicedo scored his first Premier League goal in Brighton's 5-2 win over Leicester on Sunday. Now, according to the latest news, Brighton have reached a verbal agreement that they will give priority to Liverpool in a possible transfer by Moises Caicedo. If Liverpool wants to make this transfer, they will have priority. It shows that the club has a good strategy and a sensible verbal agreement has been made. If Caicedo puts it above his performance, he may find himself in the red jersey. Naby Keïta leaving. The news that Naby Keïta is out of Liverpool's Champions League squad for the group stages should come as no surprise. The Guinean player is on the sidelines once again after being injured and has so far not touched the ball in the Premier League for Liverpool this season. Jürgen Klopp admitted that Keïta will be out for a while and his recovery time is currently unknown. This has led to a disagreement between fans Keïta and the club, and some of the fans think it's just a matter of time before Keïta leaves. This is going to be a strange one, as the World Cup will take place in November and December for the first time in sports history. Both domestic and European games will be tight to push the competitions further, and the Champions League is no exception. Liverpool will play the 6 group stage fixtures from this week to the first week of November, while the regular Champions League group stage fixtures will be completed over a period of 3 months. With Keïta and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain out for the foreseeable future, it makes perfect sense for Klopp to pick players for the competition who can play in the here and now. What's more, it can be reinstated once the duo regain their fitness and competitions resume after the World Cup in 2023. But this decision also speaks to a larger truth: Keïta may be in his final months as a Liverpool player. Negotiations on a new contract stalled over the summer. Last year was Keïta's most appearances since arriving 4 years ago, and it was decided by the club to negotiate a new contract. However, it is reported that the negotiations have stopped at this stage, because there are allegations that the player is unhappy, and he gave up on making a contract extension for the Guinean player, who was injured again at the beginning of this season. Keïta's unreliability will be the main reason he could leave the club when his current contract expires next June. Many fans thought he deserved a new contract after last season's performance, but that thought was dispelled when the same scenarios took place at the beginning of this season. Klopp is a big fan of Keïta and has said this many times, but there comes a time when the right call has to be made, and it will come sooner or later. The decision to remove him from the Champions League squad speaks volumes for that. Guinea can't complain about her role at Liverpool; she was often unavailable. You can't sign a player who gets injured as often as him, and the Reds' Champions League squad is the last warning. Jamie Carragher has already suggested that Keïta will leave at the end of the season. It's definitely starting to look more and more likely. This will be a big blow for him.